is where the grapes of wrath are stored.
Neither the United States of America nor the world community of nations can tolerate deliberate deception and offensive threats on the part of any nation.
I will make you understand.
Hey everybody, I'm Tony Jones, and welcome to the Tony Jones Show.
It's not enough. People are willing to take the risk. It's just sort of a herd mentality, a lemming-like mentality. If you don't go with the flow, you're anti-American and therefore a suspect.
The Tony Jones Show, featuring punk, rockabilly, psychobilly, and Providence, Rhode Island's finest, starts right now.
He's a dangerous militia member, I hear. Oh, and there she blows.
This is a public service announcement with guitar. Know your rights. All three of them. Number one, you have the right not to be killed. Murder is a crime unless it was done by a policeman or an aristocrat. Oh, know your rights. And number two, you have the right to food money, providing of course you don't mind a little investigation, humiliation, and if you cross your fingers, rehabilitation. Know your rights. These are your rights. Hey, say Wayne. Know these rights. Number three, you have the right to free speech, as long as you're not dumb enough to actually try it. Know your rights. These are your rights. Oh, know your rights. These are your rights. All three of them. Ha! And it has been suggested in some quarters that this is not enough. Whoa! Get up and scream!
Friends, the time for mediocrity in broadcasting is over. My name is Tony Jones, and you are tuned in to the Tony Jones Show, your destination for talk and rock. Online at TonyJones.org, on Facebook, Facebook.com/Tony Jones Show, on Twitter at Tony Jones NRI. And I want to ask you humbly to check out RIFreeRadio.org. Coming out of some Clash off of Combat Rock, you just heard Know Your Rights, and you heard it right here on the Tony Jones Show. Very fitting opening for the program tonight, because I'm very excited to bring to you the first ever, and maybe last ever, Alternative Candidates Roundtable. Let me tell you who's at the round table, which in fact is not round. It's, I don't know, what is this? It's canoe-shaped, I guess.
Linear.
we have Tony Jones Show regular Todd Giroux in studio, running as a Democrat for governor of Rhode Island. We have Ann Armstrong in studio from the Compassion Party. She's running as a write-in for governor of the state of Rhode Island. And we have Pamela Azar in studio. She is also running as a write-in as an independent for Secretary of State. Good evening.
Good evening.
This is going to be a blast. Todd, I want to start with you quickly, bringing back to your decision. And this is partially because I'm interested in it, and partially because other people have wanted me to pose the question of thinking back to 4 years ago, you ran as an independent. Now, this cycle, you decided to run as a Democrat. And I'm interested in that decision and how you think that is helping you move forward. Is it a net positive or a net negative for you, do you think?
It's a net positive. I ran as an independent in 2010 with a jobs and economy plan. And I'm in the race, again, talking jobs and economy. I'm the only candidate that has a statewide jobs plan that's not on the back of the taxpayer. It's modeled after the Providence Preservation Society's revolving fund, that low-interest revolving fund that people get their windows, the furnace, the paint job, the roof. It puts local people to work, and it adds to jobs training through the laborers also. So I say it works well on a community level, and I say let's make this a statewide plan, a statewide low-interest revolving fund. I call it a commerce fund and a Rhode Island WPA. So we can, through leadership, effect a statewide jobs plan that's not on the back of the Rhode Island taxpayer. And being in construction myself, our industry has been decimated. And so, I'm the jobs governor. I'm the real jobs governor, talking about lowering the state sales tax, ending the meals tax, statewide jobs plan, and ending pension reform, which is going to keep $4 billion in the Rhode Island economy with an 11-fold multiplier. It's a $40 billion conversation. Ending pension reform in Rhode Island is the number one thing any candidate can do to keep that $40 billion of consumer spending in the Rhode Island economy.
So, Ann, let's double it back to you, because there is a situation where we could have the decision in November to vote for Ann Armstrong, to write her in, which specifically a little later in the show, Pamela and Ann, I want to talk about write-ins and the process to go through, because you're going to have to, as part of your platform, explain to people what to do, because our Secretary of State will be throwing out what doesn't jive. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But Ann, talk a little bit about the Compassion Party and your platform.
Okay, well, I'm a medical cannabis caregiver and patient, and I've only very recently become so in the past 3 years. And before that, I think I was a kind of typical soccer mom with 7 kids in the suburbs, concerned about cannabis to the point that if my children in high school brought it home, I would take it away from them, and I'm sorry to say, flush it down the toilet. Because I became very seriously ill in 2008, and my son suggested to me that I try cannabis as a medicine because I had a serious lung disease. I had contracted swine flu, and I couldn't breathe. I had COPD as a result of the swine flu. I weighed 265 pounds. I couldn't get out of bed, and I was just basically a miserable, aging old woman. And my son said, why don't you try this? So we looked up online, and we figured out how to cook it into food. And it turned my health around so completely. My lungs cleared up. My asthma is gone. I used to take $300 a month out of pocket of pharmaceutical medications, including prednisone, with terrible side effects. I don't take any. So fast forward, I now have taken care of other people who, because of my health change, I lost 65 pounds. I'm completely healthy. I've seen cancer go into remission. And then this year, our General Assembly passes a bill under really deceptive circumstances where they basically snuck in a language change, like a poison pill bill, that after the election, once the stores are all up and running, once the compassion centers with their sneaky in the budget as a line item, they get the 99 or 1,500 plant cap removed from them. And guess what's going to happen? Once the stores are up and running, this plant that was once upon a time so dangerous that they had to lock people up for the rest of their lives if they even had it, now all of a sudden that they can't keep it suppress that it's good for you and that it cures diseases and that it makes people communicate better, be more patient with each other, be more mindful, be more aware of other people's needs. Now all of a sudden, the trick is sell it back to us under the guise of legalize, packaged up in expensive boxes, and who knows what's in that, and you have to buy it from them. It could grow outside in your garden. So if people go to my Facebook page, which is just Google Ann Armstrong for Governor of Rhode Island, you'll see campaign videos in my grow room. You'll see anecdotes about a dear friend of mine who was dying of cancer, and the cannabis oil was helping her, but since she lives in a slave state, when she went to the hospital with her tumor breaking up and coming out of her body, they sent the police to search her and threaten her because she mentioned she was using cannabis. So no one seems to be doing anything about it. Everyone seems to be afraid to say the emperor has no clothes, and I just can't keep quiet. So I jumped on that bandwagon, and I'm not going to shut up.
I think a lot of quote-unquote regular people tend to bury their heads when it comes to cannabis. A, the fact that it being prohibition is racist right across the board. And second, the effects that industrial hemp or the legalization of industrial hemp, positive effects could have on an ailing economy. And if you look up ailing economy in the dictionary, you're going to see Rhode Island. And I think possibly the one thing that we all agree on in this room is the fact that cannabis should be, in my opinion, just completely legalized. But I want to switch over to Pam now, talking a little bit about the Secretary of State's office and the fact that you have a background in civics, correct?
Correct. I have taught the subject of civics for many years. I am a former school teacher. I always impressed upon my students that anybody could run for a public office. I also impressed upon my students that freedom of speech was one of our greatest accomplishments with the Bill of Rights. I used my freedom of speech when I got up and I spoke on behalf of my students that were bullied to death. I did that in an open forum. The Commission on Bullying and Cyberbullying asked for witnesses, so I got up and I became a witness. I told the truth about bullying. I was very candid about it, and people applauded me. But then, of course, people are afraid to bring it up because they don't want their towns to be, I guess, have that connotation that there's bullying in their towns. Regardless of that, I believe in free speech. I have gotten up in many forums. Recently, the Lincoln Town Committee meeting, where I was standing up for 4 hours, fighting the good fight, asking the good questions, and in the end, with a closed ballot, we won. We saved the town $500,000, and we found that there was a loss of $575,000 in the school department budget. Oops. Now we hear nothing. So what is going on? Freedom of speech. I did get booed terribly. So as an experiment in civics, I tried to find the public documents on this. Where are they? They're not there. I have looked at looked through all the records for all our town meetings, everything. The public speak aspect, gone. You will find the transcripts. You will not find the videos.
Could we crowdfund like a forensic accountant? Like maybe we could put together a GoFundMe page and hire a forensic accountant. If there's really $500,000, you just said there's $500,000 missing from your town.
It has been. If you look at the Valley Breeze, the first 2 issues, the first 2 weeks of May, it is well documented there.
Well, maybe that makes sense to get someone that has to do an independent investigation. If the government won't do it, maybe the people could just throw in a couple.
I think that the people.
What are our taxes supposed to go for?
The taxpayers have a right to know where that money went. The taxpayers have a right.
You know what? I have enough law school from before I got sick in 2008 because it's a shame. I was going to Roger Williams on a free ride. I had that. Ralph, what's his name? The guy, they took his name off the I had that scholarship. But I got so sick I couldn't continue. And it's a shame because it sounds to me like something really serious is going on. But I have enough background that I know how to start to look that kind of thing up. So after the show, if you really have any kind of documentation, we should get together.
I have many of the DVDs that I scoured for, and I'm still looking for some. But if you go to these towns and cities and you really scrutinize and you just see, public comment is not present.
And there's still, I'm fairly active on the town level, and there's still kind of, and maybe Todd, you're seeing this running as a Democrat, a lot of bit of a good old boy system where it's funny because we say, well, we need fresh blood, we need new people involved in politics. At the same time, sometimes you go to these town meetings, school committee meetings, and there's almost like this standoffish type attitude when you try to get involved in that level where it's been the same people on the council or the same people that go to the meetings, and they say they want fresh blood, but they don't act like they want fresh blood.
My most recent experience in this election season, the toughest time we had was with Channel 12, and they didn't want us in their debates.
Which they've, in fact, been doing for years with independent
candidates. They've done it with Abel Collins. They've done it with all sorts of candidates, and I'm really surprised they didn't, include me as the fourth Democrat. I've got some fantastic ideas for the state. I'm a serious candidate, and so what it comes down to is we filed an injunction at the day they had the second debate for WPRI. We filed an injunction, spent the money. Went back and forth with the judge all afternoon, to be denied. And so this goes back to what they call fair equal access laws, fair doctrine law. And it used to be illegal for them to take candidates out of public debates. The thing is, we can't stop them from having a public debate. What we can stop them from is airing it on public airways that are regulated by the FCC. So all these laws that are actually technically still in place, there's just so much case law against them, and so these laws have been lobbied away.
Exactly.
And just like so many other laws and freedoms that
when
being taken away.
The word lobby, I have to say, even though I'm the pot candidate, there's another very serious aspect to my campaign that I want people to consider. The biggest change to our to people losing their voice, to these rights being, as you put, lobbied away, is that gradually over time, this corporate personhood doctrine that says that basically money equals speech and corporations equal people, therefore corporations can shovel as much money as they want down the gullets of our politicians to cook the books and pass laws however they want them to be, having nothing to do with fairness and justice. The only way to stop that is to ignore it. And I like what you're doing in that you're emphasizing that you're not spending a lot of money on your campaign. I'm not spending money on my campaign. It's crowdsourcing, social media.
We've been downright ridiculed for only having $20,000. I mean, a working guy that has $20,000 to spend on his campaign.
That's a lot of money.
I think that's a great show of strength for a regular guy out there. And I'll say that Channel 10 was great. Channel 6 has been pretty good. And so we've been included in most non-televised debates.
But the point is, who's making, from this whole process, right, from this whole, the candidates are fighting, they're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars. They're giving those millions and millions of dollars to Channel 12, to Channel 10.
Right.
A lot of it's spent on junk mail. I have piles and piles of junk mail that I've been getting because I'm a registered voter.
Sending me ugly pictures of Ken Block. Sending me ugly pictures of Alan.
People are sick of it. People are sick of going to the
there's an extra rub in this equation when you see when you actually see that shirt jersey with Fox News. And it's Fox News, this conservative mentality that wants to keep you out of the debate. Most of the people, even the people running the trucks, the support staff, they just shake their heads and say, this is ridiculous. You should be up there.
Now,
everyone we talk to says...
In my own personal experience, Todd, now I've done interviews with the Associated Press. I've done interviews nationally, internationally, yet... WPRI is awesome. I could live down there if I wanted to. WPRI seems to not be able to find out that I exist. Now, an international paper can get a hold of me, and international news and radio appearances, that's not a problem. But WPRI seems to have forgotten about little old Tony Jones. I'm going to spin some tunes. We're going to come back. I want to bring voter ID around the table. So you guys be thinking about that, because I think going forward for independent candidates, alternative candidates, voter ID, and now in the next election cycle, the lack of the master lever is going to be where a candidate can gain some traction. We'll talk about write-ins. We'll talk about Ann's event tomorrow. We'll talk about Todd's primary on Tuesday. But before that, we're going to hear from a local guy. This is Mark Cutler off of the album Red. This is a track called Just a Paycheck Away. You are listening to The Tony Jones Show. A little Richie Valens right here on the Tony Jones Show. Ooh, My Head, the name of that one. Before that, we heard from a local guy off of the album Red. We heard some Mark Cutler. That was Just a Paycheck Away. You are tuned in to the Tony Jones Show online at TonyJones.org, on Facebook, Facebook.com/Tony Jones Show. I'm on Twitter at TonyJonesNRI, and of course, I humbly ask that you check out RIFreeRadio.org. Big program this evening right here on the Tony Jones Show. The table is round. The candidates are Todd Giroux, Democrat for governor, Ann Armstrong, Compassion Party for governor, and Pamela Azar for Secretary of State. Before we rocked, before we rolled, I asked you guys your thoughts on voter ID, and let's start with you. Should there be a voter ID? Should we repeal that? What do you think?
I think that it imposes an impossible burden on some people, and it's intimidating to them, and I don't think that it should be imposed.
See, I was personally, and I've had different feelings on this, but I was personally disenfranchised because I work full-time, I work part-time, I go to school, and so my driver's license had been not suspended. It had been expired for quite some time. I just didn't have time to go to the DMV. And there was a municipal election involving sewers, I believe, and I wanted to vote in that election, and I did not have an ID. And I was personally disenfranchised. Pamela, as a potential Secretary of State, is that something that you would repeal? Is that something that you would keep going?
I would make sure that, as the Secretary of State, that I would make sure that all citizens had some sort of an ID card. They, just in case, because I do believe in some sort of ID, because anybody could get up there and say they're somebody and vote.
But I thought that was like there were civil liberties issues with that.
Well, that's true. However, I have the advantage because I live in a small town. Everybody that works at the polls they know who I am. So when I walk in, they know exactly who I am. But in a big municipality, there'll be a big issue.
But it seems that's the way government always tricks us into getting laws. They say somebody else might do something bad, and therefore we have to pass these laws, and then it's us who lose our rights. It was Tony who couldn't vote.
I would say, where's the common sense? You know, Tony, your ID was issued by the state. You haven't changed your identity. That ID, just because your ability to operate a motor vehicle may have lapsed, doesn't mean that the ID itself should become invalid.
Right. That's right.
And so just say, where's the common sense?
Right.
I think years ago when towns were small and people knew each other, it was a more, maybe the system worked at that point. But here now, we don't want people to be misrepresented. And I'd say, it's a great indication saying keeping the ID in place keeps the system honest.
Well, once you make everyone have papers, then you can make everyone show their papers. And that just sounds like what I remember reading about back in the days when I used to go to Hebrew school and learn about the Shoah and what it was like in Nazi Germany. And I I was a kid in the 60s, so I was impressionable to that idea that America is supposed to be the place where we are free and that we're not subject to domination by a government. I mean, the things that we saw in Ferguson recently are, I think, the kind of scenes that come from the mentality that says that people have to be ordered and bossed around and we have to pass laws because they might do something wrong otherwise.
Well, sometimes what my point is, we do need some sort of credentials to vote, that the people...
Because you think people might lie. I mean, you're basically saying you think other people might lie.
Some people, yes, they may.
And of course, we all know that there's been allegations of that very thing within the Democratic primary, within the Democratic Party in Rhode Island. But it's interesting to me to see the forms of ID that can be accepted. Mm-hmm. So it's really not a deterrent if you're taking a bus pass or... a gym ID as a form of ID for someone to vote. I'm kind of like you, Pamela. I'm in a small town, and when I go up, the person kind of already knows who I am. But it's one of those really weird situations where people are passionate for it and they're passionate against it. We're seeing that right now in the Secretary of State's run, where we again say we need to enable people to get out and vote, yet we're gonna put up barriers. I mean, we have a cell phone app to show people how to get this.
If you're going to open the floodgates and let people through the borders and let anyone vote in an election like that, then we're really not free. We're really not free. If we can't control how our freedom is expressed, then we're not free at all.
Okay, so I had the people who are coming across the borders are the descendants of the people that were walking back and forth across that land before Europeans ever came here.
I was waiting for this socialist beatdown to happen. I've been waiting for the. I wish I had something to queue up where it said socialist beatdown. No, continue, please.
No, it's just that it's just a continuation of I really think it's how the ruling class continues to rule, is by getting every one of us to hate each other, locally and globally. And there's no reason for it, because there's enough resources in the world for everyone to have enough to eat and a comfortable bed to sleep in. And we don't need people making millions and millions and billions of dollars a year.
We'll be certainly disagreeing here. And the fact is that the amount of violence that's been on the Arizona and Texas border is atrocious. And quite honestly,
these people are fleeing the drug war that we wreaked havoc on their country with.
How long do you think you'd last on that border without security? How long do you think that border...
I don't know, because I haven't been there, and you don't know because you haven't been there, so you don't really know what it's like, except what you see on TV.
Can we get back to Rhode Island, please?
But I used to live in the inner city of Providence with little kids and never locked my doors.
Have you traveled to Mexico? Have you seen the trucks and the machine guns? Have you seen what it takes to secure their own
inner... Oh, you mean because of our drug war? Because we put such a evil force into the economy by prohibiting something that should be growing freely outside.
Have you seen
so we made it expensive?
Have you seen what they do to the journalists down there?
That's right, because it's the bad guys in charge, because it's the bad guys that broke the law to make money with drugs because of us.
So we have a border to keep the bad guys out of here.
I believe
we have bad guys here too.
We have bad guys all over the world. Let's agree to that. But I just feel that in Rhode Island we need to have a form of ID. I believe that the Secretary of State's office, and maybe any way or shape or form within that office, every registered voter should be able to get a little baby card with their face and address on it, just so we know. Now, for example, I have a twin sister, okay? What's to say that I don't go to her district to vote? We're identical, but I wouldn't do it. But what I'm saying is that we have different addresses.
Go to her district and vote for me.
No, I don't need the law, but there are some people that do need rules.
I want to know if Clay Pell voted as a Republican in one state and a Democrat in another state in the same year. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's interesting. We also, on my other show, we're having a conversation with Ray Rickman, and the voter registration there is like 200%, because it's not necessarily that there's some shady things going on. It's that they have people that live there seasonally and maybe they want to vote. Maybe they've gone back home. But I think that is a failure of the Secretary of State's office, along with the ID is that this should be audited.
My theory on Clay Pell being in Arizona is this, that they're obviously very wealthy people. I think they were planning on running him for Senate in Arizona as a Republican. I don't think he could cut it with the rough and tough down home personalities down there in the South, and now he's back up here trying to wiggle his way back in the Democratic Party.
The very important question for you, Todd, is: did you grow up with your family?
I've been a Democrat. My parents are Democrats. I've been a registered Democrat all my life, and I'm proud to be a Democrat in this race. So
I want to spin some tunes. I want to come back, and we definitely need to talk about the write-in process. And then I'm going to, as the show wraps up, kind of leave the floor open for these folks to give you their pitch. They're gonna
at my event.
They're gonna put on their A game, and they're gonna let you know why you should, in fact, produce that ID, because you have to, and go out to the polls and vote for them. You are tuned in to The Tony Jones Show.
on a sandy lawn as a sophomore with reggaeton and the linens you're sitting on. So unnatural, Peter Gabriel. Can you stay up to see the dawn in the colors of Benetton?
Still can't find the key. That's right.
A little Cramps right here on the Tony Jones Show. Can't Find My Mind, the name of that one. Before that, we heard from Vampire Weekend off of the album Vampire Weekend. That was Cape Cod, Quaza Quaza, right here on the Tony Jones Show. Online at TonyJones.org, on Facebook, Facebook.com/Tony Jones Show, and on Twitter at Tony Jones in RI. It seems like we just sat down and it is time to work on wrapping up the Tony Jones Show for this week. The candidates roundtable, I'm calling them the alternative candidates because that's the hot buzzword. So we're going to use that for today. I don't know. I should have thought of a better name for this roundtable. I should have called it Socialist Beatdown between Ann and Todd, but I like
come on.
I like alternative candidates roundtable.
You say socialist like it's a bad thing, but you should read the Constitution of Rhode Island.
I have it right here.
It's intrinsically socialist.
I brought my Constitution.
The
Article 1, Section 2.
Hold on, we need to introduce you. It's very important as a radio professional for me to reinforce my guess.
So sorry.
So remember that.
Okay.
Ann Armstrong is here. She's from the Compassion Party. She is a write-in candidate for the governor of the fine state of Rhode Island. Pamela Azar is here. She is a write-in independent candidate for the office of Secretary of State. And Tony Jones Show regular, former radio host, man about town, Todd Giroux is here. He is in a Democratic primary for governor of the state of Rhode Island. Todd, I think it's important to get to you first because people catching the live show and the podcast up into a few days from now, they need to go out this upcoming Tuesday because you're in a primary, correct?
Right. We're in the middle of our get out the vote, and we've been canvassing all the towns. And so we've got our flyers out there. We've got our signs alongside the on-ramps and off-ramps in front of the State House. Everywhere you can look, we're finding a spot for a Giroux sign. We've got a great team out there that have worked with our existing congressional delegation. So I'm very proud of the support I've had. We've got our Second Amendment supporters out there. I know I've been accepting friend requests on Facebook, and I just realized the other day I'm up 300 friends in the last 2 months. So we must be doing something right, and we're getting attention for our statewide jobs plan that's not on the back of the taxpayer, as I mentioned earlier. It's modeled after the Providence Preservation Society's revolving fund. Low-interest homeowner loans, you get the windows, furnace, the paint job, the roof. Putting local people to work, and that homeowner loans accountability, not a handout. So what works well for the community, putting people to work, can work very well statewide. I expect that by spring of next 2015, we could have 15,000 Rhode Islanders working if, through leadership, we extend this revolving fund statewide. I want to lower the state sales tax, end the meal tax. I'm certainly here as a constitutional candidate supporting the Second Amendment. We also had an endorsement from Stephen Day, who's a former firefighters local president, local 799, and that's brought a lot of great support from the Providence Canteen, the ham operators of Rhode Island, some truckers, some rig operators. So, we've got a good ground game, so I think we're going to surprise a lot of folks.
Now, as I said off the air, my one-line zinger, of course I love to zing myself. As a fat guy, I can get behind the ending of the meal tax. Now, I want to play devil's advocate here, Todd, because I've heard it myself, and I'm sure you've heard it. People want to know why I don't, quote-unquote, just run for town council or run for state rep. Your response to that, because I'm sure you also hear it a lot.
I have the passion to deliver a jobs plan for Rhode Island. There's new faces, new ideas in politics. They bring these issues to the statewide level. It gets people thinking, and it really puts a challenge to these $1 million candidates to come up with some practical solutions. The other day in the Channel 10 debate, I said, it's going to be a long winter trying to figure out which candidates are going to deliver for the people of Rhode Island next spring. We missed the opportunity for a jobs plan in 2010. We missed a chance for a jobs plan with the congressional election. These have to become election issues. And I haven't even begun to talk about the repaid TARP money, that banking bailout fund for the 2008 Emergency Economic Stabilization Act. That was a 10-year plan for the economy passed by Congress. It wasn't just a 2-year plan for the banks. And that $400 billion was supposed to circulate through the economy for small business loans, green projects and infrastructure, and even pension insurance.
And I think the same case can be made for the Google money, which seems to have magically disappeared.
I make that case. I say, what happened to the lead paint money, the
tobacco
money, the Google settlements, the wrongful foreclosure settlement money, all these inputs that should reach the mainstream economy, and who fights back? Who's doing that hard work for the people? And so I'm proud to be that guy, and the equity that I'm building in this campaign sticks with me for a lifetime, and we're going to make a difference. We're finding a way to make a difference by making these public issues.
That almost perfectly dovetails into my follow-up question, which is, you've been doing this for a little bit now. Should you not win the primary on Tuesday, your political plans going forward are?
I'm here to support the winner of the election, and whoever it is, I want to work with the administration. I want to help fix. There's a lot of problems between the DLT and how we deliver social services here in the state. We need to reestablish the trust with the court system. They're taking kids away from families. They're taking homes away from people. These are real issues that are hurting thousands of Rhode Islanders every day, and there's a culture of, not to bash every profession, but there's a culture of attorneys, title and real estate people who they're in boon times over other people's hardships.
Todd, when I'm governor, I hope you'll come and work for my administration, because you have some really good ideas, and I hope you'll go after that TARP money.
We're going after it, and we're making it an election issue. And listen, if I'm Rhode Island's local expert on TARP funds, maybe we'll find a campaign out there. And who knows? Maybe I'll have a political career in campaign administration after that.
I hope you're going to come over tomorrow to
we
my
could have a
campaign
tarpathon.
jam.
We could have a tarpathon. We could just bird dog people to the point where they have no choice.
That would be awesome. Yeah. That's why I think people should work together.
We have a continued 3 years to say this is an election issue for every state's elections for the next 3 years. And if we have to call for a reauthorization in an extension of TARP.
Yeah.
See, they've been trying to backpedal on this law since the day they wrote it.
So, but it's like the Democrats doing that, or the Republicans, or who's in charge of that? Really?
So let's put it this way:
the banksters.
Let's put it this way: the bankers wrote the Economic Stabilization Act. They wrote it.
All right. So So how come the lawmakers aren't writing the laws?
And I'm just putting it this way. Let me frame the conversation this way: to say, they wrote that law for pension insurance to be in fact pension insurance for the threshold was $1 billion.
Right.
If you lost the state lost $1 billion in pensions before 2010, you would have qualified for pension insurance. So let's just say this law was written by the bankers so that they'd still be in business. They'd have pension funds to manage.
Exactly.
They shouldn't be embracing this.
And then, Forbes is all over our pension, and I know that's been a big issue in the debates. Why would we outsource pension management?
What bothers me
like
the most about the pension reform is just simply that if you take money away from a retiree who can no longer help their kids or their grandkids, what's going to happen? Now they have to go out and borrow more money for that education, for that car. So in every way, shape, or form, these bankers win.
Our kids graduate from college.
When they
and
take
how
the
much
banking,
debt?
when they take the pension away,
it's debt.
And in double fold, encourage more borrowing. They win 2 to 3 times plus the bailout. They win every
right.
time.
See, in this issue, there's no reason for a beatdown because it turns out that it's all this money and
so
the
now
interest
it's a socialist
in the
love
bankers.
fest.
Oh, I love it.
Kumbaya.
Okay, but seriously, when I'm governor, I hope you'll work for me. And regardless of the outcome of the primaries, I'm really glad that you're going to continue to press those issues, particularly recovering TARP money.
And we're going to need a cannabis czar in office, too.
I'll take that job.
So come over tomorrow to my Compassion Party.
Where is it?
Backyard Jam.
Tell us where it is.
99 Hudson Pond Road.
Can't get there from here.
Yes, you can. West Greenwich, Rhode Island. You could carpool. We're going to have bands. We're going to have Shore City. We're going to have Jose Panman. I forget now because it's after 420. I'm sorry. A lot of bands signed up. Go on my Facebook page. Google Ann Armstrong for Governor of Rhode Island. There's a Facebook page. The event is posted.
It's on Craigslist.
We've got the Rolling Tomato coming by with their pizzas. We're going to have Dell's. We've got a cotton candy machine and a popcorn machine And
Are you going to throw pot in the cotton candy machine?
well, you know,
'Cause that
I
would be
can
pot and
share my
candy.
medicine with you. Actually, you know, we are
That
going to
was
make
funny.
a version for patients, and if someone has a card, they can try it for free because that's legal under Rhode Island state law. And
Well, yes. For me,
now that you mentioned
the job
it,
of Secretary of State is very important. I'd like to give kudos to Mr. Joe Marlis because the Office of Secretary of State, out of all the state offices that I had to deal with the bureaucracy, the Secretary of State's office was the kindest and the most.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
those ladies in the
hospitable.
Board of Canvassers,
As well
though, on Branch
as
Avenue was
I'd
sweet.
like to
I
give
like
kudos to Mr. Kilmartin for giving those classes on transparency to the towns and cities. Unfortunately, many of the towns and cities are not following the law. So, as
But he
your
has
next
a-
Secretary of State, what I would do is make sure they're following the law by much more oversight. I will continue the good work that the Secretary of State's office is doing presently. I will bring my background, my world knowledge, and I will partner with other state offices when needed, when necessary, to help them with anything they need as far as my insight on education as an educator. I have fallen through every crack in the system. I know where to put the cement. Yeah. I will be the best Secretary of State
I think, you know,
of Rhode Island. I am the choice for you.
There you go.
And thank you for your time.
We share so many experiences. I have raised 7 kids. I've worked at a lot of different things. I have 13 grandchildren. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in electrical engineering. I used to work at Raytheon. I was trained as a Six Sigma expert. I know how to use those tools. I know how to do a baseline. I know how to go into somebody's department and say, what is that money being spent for? I can go into Peter Kilmartin's office and say, why do you hire a full-time lobbyist at taxpayers' expense to write laws and go lobby for laws that just expand your power that no one is asking for? What happened to government by the people, of the people, for the people? Our state constitution says the goods of the state are supposed to be distributed equally. It says, I'll read it to you. No, go look at my video because I don't want to waste time on the air. I want you to go look. I put it on the air already. You can go look. You can read Article 1, Section 2. You have Google. Go read our state's constitution.
Now, we have to double back into 2 points on civic involvement before we wrap things up. That is, not only do we need people that can run and win, we need people that can run, get slaughtered, and then live to run again. So for both of you, Pamela and Ann, should you not win this time around, same question I posed to Todd, political aspirations going forward, or are you going to wrap it up?
I will continue to be an advocate for people. I will continue to stand up and challenge things that are illegal. I do not have, Google me if you want. You can see what I've done in the past. I will not stand down. I will always be a voice for the people, and I will always aspire to be an advocate for the state of Rhode Island.
Well, I decided to run just because I wanted to be able to educate people about a number of issues, including the amazing health benefits of cannabis and how many, many people say that it has cured their cancer, put Crohn's into complete remission. It relieves the symptoms of ALS and actually lengthens lifespan as much as twice as much. And that ice water challenge, 73% of that money went
People
to
should
the
be
people's
dumping weed on each
salaries.
other's heads.
Well, they should be learning how to cook it and eat it and use it and share it, and they should stop making it be about the money, because that's the whole problem. It should not be for sale. It should not be for trade. People who know how to read Hebrew know that the holy herb and the anointing oil in Exodus chapter 30, verse 23, says, cannabosum, cannabis, take that, and that is the healing. That is the anointing. If you're against the anointing, doesn't Christ mean anointing? What does it mean to be against that? And I ask you because when you take something like that and you turn it into a commodity and an item for trade, then it becomes like any other good. We've been given a plant that heals you It helps. Our bodies need cannabinoids to be healthy. The root cause of most chronic and degenerative diseases are endocannabinoid deficiency when hemp seed was removed from our diet. That's why people are getting sick, and that's why people are dying. And the federal government has known since at least 1974, when they shut down the University of Virginia Medical School study that showed that THC cured cancer in knockout mice, and they shut down the study and suppressed the evidence and ramped up the drug war. So when I found out all these things, I want to share that information. On my path to become governor, it's helping me share that information and find people to help. And when I'm governor, it will continue to do so because I won't allow lies to be told.
Now that, again, perfectly dovetails into what I want to mention, and the fact that, just briefly, I have to play devil's advocate here. You guys are both running as write-ins. And just briefly, because I want to talk about the write-in, why not just get on the ballot?
Well, I gathered 1,200 signatures, and 700 of them were rejected for reasons that I don't completely understand. And I made a decision to move forward rather than waste any energy fighting over something, because I felt like...
I said briefly.
Okay, well, it's easy to convince someone to vote for me
now,
as to convince them to write my name, Ann Armstrong.
And that's exactly, but we have to mention in both of your cases, if people want to vote for you, and again, briefly, do you suggest that people also write you in on Tuesday?
Not me. No.
Okay.
Not at all.
That we would be written in during the general election.
I mean, as a write-in, you could do both, but this is what I want to mention. We do have to wrap things up.
Right.
In the general election, folks have to write your name and connect the line.
Arrow.
So
Yes.
I want everybody to recall that.
There's a video on my webpage that shows it. It's a cartoon, and you can just watch it. It shows you how to.
Or they could put, they can affix a sticker.
It has to be.
I'll have Edwin make one.
For
with your
example,
name
for myself,
too.
it would be if you can't write my whole name, you could write P.Aza and connect the arrow.
Connect the line.
The intent the person must have your name there that's legible and readable, where the intent is there.
So I think you're better off if they write your complete name.
But
that's why there's a sticker press.
I would go with
stickers.
I would go with
stickers. Yeah.
It would be great to do that.
Thank you.
It's just
Is
that in the
legal?
perfect world, that would be wonderful.
Well, let's make a GoFundMe. Let's make a GoFundMe. I went to a medical conference in Portland, Oregon.
I'm trying to get you guys as many votes as possible, and you're not listening to me. They have to write your name and connect the hour, right? If they do one or the other, that's going to get thrown out. So you make that clear, because people are confused about the write-in.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that over the years.
I put that in the video on my Ann Armstrong for Governor of Rhode Island Facebook page. You can watch it as a cartoon. It shows the arrow connected and the name being written. And you're welcome to link to it. And I'll ask Edwin to make one for you with your name.
Thank you.
And you could put it up and,
Thank you, guys. We got a split. I really appreciate the fact that everybody in this room is running for office. I think that's huge. And we need more people to get involved in the civic process. So we're going to wrap things up with a little bit more local music, which is what we do here on the Tony Jones Show. We're going to hear from Steve Volkman. He's been in this very studio. This is his track, I Saw Elvis. TonyJones.org is my website. Facebook.com/Tony Jones Show. I'm talking real fast. Can you see that we're against the clock? At Tony Jones in RI is my Twitter. Check out RIFreeRadio.org. Bye, everybody. Bye.
I saw Elvis on the train the other day. He told